Are you enjoying the Mindset Playground? Well, visit my website at luannhunt.ca. That's luannhunt.ca, and find out about all of my guests, my upcoming guests, my past guests, and also sign up for my free Insiders Club. That's where you're going to get information sent to you through email about tips and tricks and all kinds of good stuff about living from the inside out. So I can't wait to see you there on the Mindset Playground. And don't forget to visit my website at luannhunt.ca. Hey everyone, welcome to the Mindset Playground, where you're going to get your daily dose of positivity. And I'm your host, Leanne Hunt. And I am so excited that you have joined me here today on the playground because I have a special guest joining me all the way from Australia. So, welcome to the Mindset Playground, Leanne. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing so great. Thank you, Leanne. Thank you for having me here.
Well, I'm so excited to have you because you're the first person that I've interviewed from Australia. So, that is so
Yay!
exciting. Now,
It
I
is.
know that we're in some similar groups together. So that's how we met. And what made you decide that you wanted to come and do your first podcast with me on the Mindset Playground?
Oh, well, you are so inspiring and kind, and you have such a joyful character. And I knew that you would just make this a wonderful experience for me and that I could get my message out.
Yes, and that is quite the message that you have. So we're going to
Hmm.
talk about that, and we're going to talk about a hero's path today. And I'm going to explain exactly what that means. Well, actually, Leanne's going to explain what that means. So let's get started, Leanne. Tell us about why you decided, or when you decided, or both, to become a physiotherapist.
Okay, well, that's an easy one. I was 14 years old. I had always been interested in health and sports, and I was sitting in my lounge room watching a TV show, and it was on the Australian Institute of Sport, and it was showing physiotherapists who were working with athletes and really analysing the mechanics of the human body. And I just remember in that moment, I said, that's what I want to do. And so I remember turning at the time, there was only one university or that had it running, which was quite a distance from our home. And I remember turning to my father and saying, I want to, that's what I want to do. And I said, I need to go to Canberra. And he goes, choose something else. I don't want you to go that far, but I wasn't going to choose something else. And as it turned out, I went to Sydney University to study, and it all went from there.
So, how long did it take you in your studies?
So I actually did two degrees. So I did I did a medical science degree first, which was a 3 year degree. And that was a little bit influenced by a friend of mine who is now a neurosurgeon. And he was really trying to get me to do something other than physiotherapy. He wanted me to move into medicine instead. And it was a nice little bridging course. But I've completed the medical science degree and still wanted to go ahead with physio. So then physio was another 4 years on top of that. So I studied for a little while.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
you mentioned the name of the city. Oh, it was Sydney that you
Sydney.
went to school.
Yes.
Oh,
So grew up in Sydney, sort of in the western suburbs of Sydney. And then the university I went to, it was the University of Sydney, which is in the city. And I also actually transferred to the University of Queensland. So I went to another state actually to complete my physiotherapy degree. Yeah.
wow, that's great. So here
Mm.
we are. Do you have your
Mm-hmm.
own practice or did you kind of start working with somebody else?
Yeah, so part of the reason that I moved to the University of Queensland was because they had 3 years of study and then they had a whole year of practice, medical practice. So I really wanted to get out as an older student. I wanted to get out and start practicing as soon as possible. And a lot of younger physios are really encouraged to go through the hospital system. And I didn't want to do that. I always wanted to be in private practice. So I went straight from finishing the 2 degrees to working for somebody else in private practice, and then later opened up my own practice. So that was a brick and mortar business that I had for 10 years. But that business is now closed as I'm on this journey. So I made it a definite transition. Yeah.
Well, that sounds very interesting because I'm all about business and, of
Yeah.
course, transforming and transformation and starting your own business and all of those things. And I feel like I'm constantly in the flex of, starting over, especially the last couple of years of my life. And so I know how difficult that can be. So, did you really notice a huge difference when you were working for somebody else compared to when you opened your own practice?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is that when I was working for somebody else, it was purely a lack of confidence because as a physiotherapist, you have your own patients and you're really bringing in the business. I never had a free time slot. I was always the most busy physio working, in any practice that I worked in. And it was kind of implanted in my brain through my studies and through the degree at the time that, I needed years of experience to be, before I opened up a physiotherapy practice. And I just got to a point where I was like, I don't need that. Actually, it was when I had my first child. I needed some treatment on my pelvis, and I remember going to 6 different physios and coming back to my husband and telling them, the difference between what they did and what I could do was huge. And I thought, if these physios have their own practice, I can do it. So it actually gave me the confidence to get out there. Yeah, so it was purely confidence. And yeah, I got out there and I just did it. Yeah.
There you go. And of course, I'm sure mindset played a huge role in all of that.
Yeah.
And just what was your mindset at that time? Just to get as many patients as you could, or what was it?
It was to treat patients the way I wanted to treat them. So
Ah,
a lot of the practices I had worked in, I always treated the body as a whole. So if you came into me with a shoulder injury, I would always treat your neck. I would always treat your mid back. I would always get to the real cause of why your shoulder was hurting. Of course, treating the shoulder and making sure there was no specific injury there, but I would always treat the body as a whole. And I was a little bit slammed, I guess is the word for that. When I was working for other people, they would always say, you can't do that. You're going to have to charge for the areas that you're treating. And I never understood that. And they would always say, you work differently. So I always worked with my intuition. I always treated the body as a whole. And I think that's why people came back. And because they got better, and because of the difference, that I was working intuitively and I was really getting to the causes of their symptoms. And the other thing was, a lot of practices, just worked with curtains between clients. And I wanted a space, private rooms where I could actually speak to clients and actually let them express any emotions or what they were going through at the time, with their injury. Because there's more often than not, there's a relationship between something you're going through and an injury that you've had. And it just allowed me to start to introduce mindset to my clients without anybody hearing, anybody hearing. So when I was working for somebody else, if I happened to be in a room by myself, there was no doubt that the client with me would cry or release an emotion or share something with me deeper. So I wanted my own space to do that. So it was more about how I could provide the service. And the mindset shift was definitely confidence. So these days, if you study physio, you actually get taught about business and how to run your own practice. But back then, it was very much about learn as much as you can before you go out there. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, that makes sense. That does. Things
Yeah.
have changed so much.
They have.
So now we're going to fast forward just a little bit. not too much,
Hmm.
but you've turned one of life's most challenging experiences, because it says that you had a breast cancer diagnosis, and you've
Yes.
turned it into something deeply empowering for others. Can you share what that moment of transformation looked like for you when you decided to turn your pain into purpose?
Absolutely. So I had been through a lot of challenges in my life. So I'd already been on a deep journey of transformation myself personally. And I had a lot of tools under my belt as to, to what I was doing. And I'm happy to discuss those in a bit. And when I got the breast cancer diagnosis, it was kind of, I think my initial reaction was like, oh my gosh, something else, something else that I need to deal with was my first reaction. But then I quickly switched to, okay, if this is what I need to do, then this is what I need to do. If this is what I need to go through, then it's what I need to go through. And I quickly shifted it to, okay, I'm going to learn from this. There's something deeper. There's more that I've got to learn. Otherwise, I wouldn't be going through it. So it was a very quick movement from when I was diagnosed to it was a little less than a week, less than a week, or sorry, maybe just a little over a week to when I was sitting there for my first chemotherapy session. And I went all prepared. On the way there, I was listening to affirmations. I had a meditation prepared. I had, everything. I'll discuss more, but everything that I knew that I'd need in that session to make it a successful session. And there was a lovely lady who was a volunteer at the hospital, and she was going around asking everybody how they were going. And she got to me and she saw everything that I was doing and how I was set up. And she said to me, "You're at the end of your healing journey, aren't you?" And she said, "Most people here are just beginning." And that was really the key moment when I started to look around and realize, boy, because I knew that. I knew that I had already been through so much. And then that just opened it up. It's like, okay, I'm here to help other people. I'm here to experience this so I can help other people. And it did. It gave me a deeper learning of what women go through. It gave me a broader view of the medical system and what they're very good at and what they lack. And we'll talk about this more, but definitely mindset. And mindset is not a part of that journey. And planning for the future is not a part of that journey. And it makes sense. Their goal is to make sure that you survive. And I'm here to make sure that through that journey, it's a better one, that you're empowered.
That there's a lot more to it than just the
Yes.
medical journey.
Yes.
Yeah, I
And
know
there's
that it's
medicine.
important. Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say there's medicine and then there's that real deep healing. There's that real transformation.
So you had already gone through personal development training, and did you get any of that when you were taking your courses, or how did you get your training?
So it's all been life experience. So my journey started when I was 16 and I started really working with other people on the human body and how it can hold emotions. And if we don't release those emotions, they can become illnesses, they can become injuries. It started from 16 and it just became a life of transformation for me. And then I had another big moment of discovery in my 40s. And it was not long after that I was diagnosed with the breast cancer. So it was a real whirlwind.
Wow, but I can understand how you can really help other women when they're going through that, because I'm sure that's just kind of a shock to, think that you're fine, and then the next thing you hear that you have breast cancer, and it probably hits a lot of people out of left field, I'm guessing. So,
Absolutely. I think so for me, I knew that I had the lump. I kind of knew that it was going to be my next journey. And being in the health profession, I went to my doctor and said, I've got a lump. She felt the lump and said, I don't think there's anything to worry about. And I said, it is. And so I was very lucky. I caught it very, very early. Still needed to go through all of the, radiation, chemo, and surgery. But I did catch it at a very early stage. And it really was because I knew my body and I went there and I said, this isn't right. And it does. It's still a shock, but I think more so because of, I'm going to use the word stigma, but everything that's associated with cancer.
Right.
There's such a big energy around cancer. So the first thing I needed to do was really separate from that big energy and just experience what it was for me. And yeah, that's really the first step.
Well, that's wonderful because they're lucky that they had you in their corner. I know I would
Yeah.
probably want to have somebody like you in my corner if I had to, you know, go through a journey like that. But I know exactly what you mean. But now, as a physiotherapist with over 25 years of experience, which is pretty amazing, would you start when you were 12? You bring a scientific understanding of the body into your work. But you also talk about healing the soul, and that's where the mindset comes in, I think. But how do you help women bridge these two worlds, the physical and the emotional, on their healing journey? Because I just want to add to that that I'm sure that you had a lot of training with personal development and but a lot of people like I won't say the ordinary person, that's not what I'm trying to say, a person who hasn't had a lot of personal development training, they would probably find that difficult at first to understand. Do you find that you have to kind of explain it to them how it works?
Yeah, there was a time, especially when I was working in the physiotherapy clinic, that I would almost be afraid to say, what I was feeling or to really just explain right out the connection between mind, body, and spirit. But I'm now so much more comfortable with that, and I found a way. So I have put it into 7 key steps, and they are very practical and they can be done within the first half hour of your day. And those 7 key steps allow you to address mental, physical, and spiritual. And I've made it as simple as I can, so that everybody can do it. It's not overwhelming. You can do it at any stage in your healing, and from there you can go deeper.
So tell us what these 7 steps are.
Okay, well, it might take a little bit of time, but do you want me to start with the physical or
Sure.
the mind? Yeah, so
Whatever you would.
the physical, it comes down to 3 things. It comes down to water, nourishing foods, and movement. And they sound so simple, but people make them very, very complicated. And I can go into lots of depth, but I do in my program and in my webinar as well. But when it comes to water, most people know that your body is mostly made up of water and that you need 2 liters of water a day, but most people don't do it. They won't actually be drinking that amount of water. Do you, Luann?
No, I have to be honest, I
Yeah,
don't. But let me
yeah,
ask you
yeah.
this, does tea and coffee and, does that all count as water?
So when, as a physio, if you're talking to the person who's not going through a big journey, a health journey, then you can add 1. So normally we say 1 tea or 1 cup of coffee. You can add that into your 2 liters of fluid.
Oh,
There's more reasons to that. The more coffee, especially that you have, the more dehydrated you can become. So it's better to limit the coffee to 1 a day. And there's other reasons to do with the caffeine, but just on a hydration perspective, it's 1 a day. If somebody is going through chemo, then I really encourage them to have that 2 liters on top of whatever else, because they really need to flush out the excess medication as quickly as possible. And the body eliminates that excess medication through the bladder and through the bowel. So you really want to stay hydrated and you want to keep keep everything moving through. And that's what the nourishing foods do. So the nourishing foods, I keep the nourishing foods so simple, and you just want to make sure that the majority of your plate is fruit and vegetables. So you can get caught up in so many different, this is going to help you and that's going to help you and this is the miracle cure. But if you steer away from those, just stick to your regular diet, because if you change your diet too much, your body will go into a bit of shock with everything else that it's going through. So you just want to make sure that the majority of each plate is fruit, vegetables mostly, and of course some fruits, and a variety of those. So you get your vitamins, your minerals, and you get your fiber. And once again, the fiber is super important because it's all to do with that eliminating, making sure the body's running really well. And this isn't just for somebody going through breast cancer. This is for everybody. It's for me, it's for you, it's for everybody. So it's just something that we all neglect a little bit. And especially when you're going through the treatment, it's a really important time to make sure you stick to it. And then movement. There are so many levels of movement depending on where you're at with your health. And I love talking to people about all the different ways that you can do movement. But the main thing is that you need to move your body at least 20 minutes a day. And when you have the option, if you can get out of your home and do it, then a walk, something in nature, is the best way to get that 20 minutes. And keeping it simple with those three things, it's amazing how many people don't do that. And it's so easy to do when you put your mind to it and you make them a habit. So I do give everybody a challenge, a 7-day challenge to start. You can pick one of those things and try it for 7 days. So start with your 2 liters. If you get a 1 liter bottle of water, drink that liter before lunch, get a 2 liter bottle of water and drink that before dinner. And try that for 7 days. And that goes well, keep that habit up, and then you can start looking at your nourishing foods. And I don't know if I'm talking too much, but
Not at all.
This is my thing. So if you like to have an egg on toast for breakfast, a lot of people will start to question, is the egg okay to eat? Is the bread okay to eat? I just don't even go there to start. Just say, okay, I'm going to have my egg on toast, but how can I add something more nourishing, even more nourishing to it? So add some avocado, add some baby spinach, add some mushrooms. And then suddenly it's gone from just a very plain breakfast that doesn't have as much vitamins and minerals to something that you've made more elaborate with vitamins and minerals. So
Wow,
that's
you are
the start
so
of how
passionate
I
about
can.
this. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So
No,
that's 3 of the steps just like that. And
yeah,
then the next ones, they become more detailed. But I'd love to share if I can. Do I have the time to?
absolutely. So this is your
Yeah.
hero's journey, right?
This is the hero's journey. This is where it all starts with the 7 key steps.
That's wonderful. Yeah, we're going to talk
Yeah.
about how you put that together. So please go ahead. What are your
Okay,
next
so well,
4
you
steps?
know this one very well. So gratitude, yeah, it has to be an active practice of gratitude, and I think sometimes people may misunderstand this, and down the road, this might be something that happens later, but they think they need to be grateful for what they're going through, and I couldn't do that myself. I wasn't sitting there going, I'm grateful for the breast cancer, Now I look back on the path that it's taking me on, and yeah, I can say I'm grateful for what I went through. But at the time, absolutely not. But what I did was really focus on the things that I really did have. It makes, it makes you really grateful for everything in your life and everything that you could possibly lose. So I really encourage people to start there and to start looking at the things in their life. It could be family, it could be friends, it could be just the sky, waking up to the beautiful sunshine in the morning. It could be just looking at something in your body that is really functioning well, because your relationship with your body can really be impacted, and looking at the parts of your body that are still working beautifully can really help. So I take the example of just your hand. You can look at your hand or your fingers and be grateful for everything that you can do with your hand. The sensation, the warmth, being able to hug someone, hold something, and that really starts to increase that beauty or that relationship with your body, and it keeps that love and that connection with your body. When for some women going through the treatment, their body's suddenly out there, it's like, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a trauma, and they lose that connection and that love that for their body. And I do want to say that this is something you can start right from day one. You start right from day one, right from that diagnosis, because it's such a huge journey that you'll be going on with the treatments, and you can really get caught up with the symptoms and everything, all the appointments and everything you need to do. But if you can start with these 7 key steps, it'll make that journey so much easier, and you won't get to the end wondering, what do I do now?
Oh,
So,
that's wonderful. Okay, so we have gratitude, which is a
uh-huh.
big one. We have
Yep.
water, we
Yep.
have movement, and we
Yes.
have food.
The nourishing foods. Yep.
Yes,
So what's
nourishing
next?
foods. Yes, what's next?
What's next? So, of course, affirmations. So, my knowledge on affirmations is huge. And I started with Louise Hay, and I've been doing affirmations my whole life. And they've been a savior for me. So, I start with one that really just puts it right out there, but it is, I am perfect health. And I actually give people, a beautiful picture to put on their wall. I am perfect health. And for some people, that's right out there. But the way I like to explain it is, it's a goal, and when your attention is getting really caught up with the cancer or with the treatments, you can go back to that goal and know that you're on the path to perfect health. And well, we could discuss that a lot more if you wanted to, but there's a lot more to affirmations, and there's a lot more to what you plant into the subconscious mind. But what I really want women, like I said, you can go to this course, can meet you where you are, and you can take it to any depth that you want. But what I think really plays a part in transformation is working out what affirmations, what was your mindset leading into the diagnosis. For me, I went back to mindset that had been implanted when I was 14, so,
Right.
there was things in my subconscious mind that were going over and over that I wasn't aware of. But through the diagnosis, I became aware of those and have been able to change them. So, and then you can also look at your mindset and the affirmations that you will use to create your future. So
Wow.
it's not just, in that present moment, but it's, where were you before and where do you want to go?
Right. So, how to get from where you are to where you want to be.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So now you've created a whole program around this.
I have.
And
I
what
have.
made you
It's a
decide to do that? Yeah.
you know what? I'm going to use the word confidence again, but it's when I really realized that I could make a difference, that what I'd been through and my knowledge, I could really make a difference. And then it just became a passion, a passion. I can sense all the women that I'm going to help before they've even arrived. Yeah, I know that's
Wow.
going to take a lot of women on a deep journey of transformation.
Wow. That's so great. And I know that
Yeah.
you've created an app.
I have, yes. So it's Leanne Hughes Physio. Everything to do with me at the moment is Leanne Hughes Physio. So my website's leannehughesphysio.com. My app is Leanne Hughes Physio. And that's the app. You can access it from a desktop, but the app is how you can access the whole program. And as you know, because of your program, it's laid out beautifully. It's easy to access. You can access it anywhere. You can download. It's a beautiful system. And we'll get onto that, but of course, the way that you can access the community in there is just beautiful.
So let's talk about the power of the community, okay?
Yeah.
Because right
Hmm.
now I am on a journey, I'll say, or on a path of creating a new community because I think that
Hmm.
it's really important. Yours is your hero's path, which is amazing. And my community is for the people who have questions like, what's next in my life? They've gone
Yes.
through a life transition. Maybe they've retired. They have uh, become an empty nester. Maybe they went through 7 years of university, college, and once they got out, they realized that there's no jobs available for what they just studied. So they have to make a transition and change, or they have to
Yep.
pivot, or they're moving on to something else. And I want to be able to help people that way as far as creating that community where we can all maybe help each other try and find clarity. And that's what my journey is. But yours, because healing can often feel so lonely, especially after this major diagnosis. So, how important is connection and community in the recovery process? I know that your community is very important. So, let's talk about that.
It's really easy to feel alone on this journey. Even though there's many women diagnosed, I think it's 58 women diagnosed a day in Australia with breast cancer. But it's definitely easy to feel alone. And for me, I was searching for a community that wouldn't keep me stuck. I wasn't really looking for a support group. I was looking for someone who was going to, although you get support, I was looking for a community that was going to lift me up and have the same vision of where I wanted to get. I didn't want to be someone who was known as having breast cancer or someone that was living with breast cancer. I saw myself way beyond that, even when I was going through the treatment. So that's the community that I wanted to create. One that's very uplifting, one that focuses on wins. Of course, it answers questions, but one that doesn't let you stay in a mindset, which I guess the word is a victim mindset. It doesn't let you stay in that a victim mindset, really encourages you to lift out of it and lift your vibration and see a better future for yourself.
Wow, that's amazing. So, you
Yeah.
do have a beautiful community already built?
It's no, it's in the making. It's being created. This is the very start of this journey. But my connection with the people in the community to start is what's driving it up.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
so important, isn't it? That connection.
yeah, absolutely. And I want people to know that I'm accessible, I'm in that community. And it's not, I've never really been an open speaker on Facebook or social media. And even in Facebook groups, it's very, someone posts and there's 1,000 people in the group. And I didn't want it to be like that. And as you know, within the app, it's very different. You can message someone personally, you can message me personally, you can put a post and people can write in that post, but no one sees it outside of your community. And it's encouraging and it's uplifting.
Yeah, for sure. Yes. It's
Mm.
so, so important to build that community, even if it's only a community of, say, 10 to 15 people.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
is. It's very intimate, and
absolutely.
I do like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow, Leanne, that's great.
I know. I've got it in the back of my head that we didn't finish the 7 key steps. Should I
Oh,
say the last two
okay.
very quickly? Very,
Absolutely. I'm
very
sorry.
quickly.
I didn't mean to
No, that's
interrupt.
okay. No, you didn't interrupt. It was just that we were going with the flow. But just so people know, it's really being in the present moment, not thinking about, and I draw on a lot of techniques to keep you in that present moment. And it's making sure that you don't feel overwhelmed. Of course, you need to know the layout of treatments and everything that's gonna go ahead of you. But it's just really on that day, focus on the one thing that you need to get through and focus on it with a really good mindset, a strong mindset. And then the last thing, of course, is joy. Anything that brings you joy. It can be calling somebody up that makes you feel good, watching a comedy on TV, anything that, patting a dog, going for a walk, going in nature. I love going to the beach, having my feet on the ground. I always went for a walk on the sand. Even on my chemo days, I stuck to my rule of 20 minutes a day. I'd get my chemo. Often the instructions were go wrap yourself up in cotton wool for a few days. But I would always make sure that on the way back from the hospital, I stopped with my husband or whoever was with me. We did that minimum 20-minute walk on the sand, and then came home. So anything that brings you joy needs to be a part of your day. If you're creative, it could be drawing, it could be writing, it could be painting. But that's the lucky number 7.
Oh, wow. That's great. I am so happy that you have created this journey for people. And I mean, they don't have to be living in Australia. And that's the beauty of it. They could be living here in Canada and connect with you and be a part of this journey with you, which is really
Yep.
nice. So, I'm very happy that you've put this together for pretty much anybody who needs it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that's really great. And
Thank you.
I think that's wonderful. And I hope that you being on the Mindset Playground will help make sure that that journey goes beyond the just, the four corners of your end of the world.
Absolutely. I know it will. And I know that whoever needs to hear the message will hear it. And really, I'm on a mission to transform the ladies who are listening to this, their lives,
Yep,
but also the concept of breast cancer.
for sure. And like you said, to
Hmm.
remove that stigma,
Hmm.
and for somebody who gets that diagnosis, I have not had any issues like that, but I know how devastating. I've had many friends who have had that diagnosis, and I know how devastating it is for them. So,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think it's wonderful that you're doing. When you call it a hero's path, I would say that it's definitely a hero's path. And I applaud you for everything that you're doing, Leanne. This is wonderful.
Thank you.
So
Thank you so
before
much.
we go, I
Hmm.
always ask my guests for three golden nuggets that they'd like to leave the audience with.
Ooh, okay. Three golden nuggets. You are stronger than you know. You, oh, there's so many. Three of the strongest. You, oh, the wording's not, you would know this one, but it's a very important message. I'm just trying to think of the actual quote, which is about you are on the journey. It's like you're doing it alone, but you can't do it alone. What is it? What is it? You're on this. Oh, do you know what I'm trying to say there?
With community. Yeah, you're with
Yeah,
other
yeah.
people. Yeah, you're
So
not walking
you,
alone.
yeah, you're not walking alone. And the third thing is fear plays such a big part in your whole journey. And if you can switch that fear, which is what I help you to do, switch that fear to curiosity. And what do I need to learn? When you learn what you need to learn, you understand why you're going through that process. The fear voice becomes so quiet. And be curious. Be curious and know that you are going through this journey for a reason.
Wow. Those are three amazing nuggets. Thank you so, so much for sharing with them or sharing them with us. And I just want to say thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to come and play with me on the playground. And I look forward to playing with you again soon.
Oh, thank you, Luann. It's been wonderful. I'm so grateful.
Well, I'm grateful that you showed up. Have a
Thank you.
wonderful day.
You too.